What up? What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm J. We are locked in. This is the last episode of Sean Combs' The Reckoning on Netflix, executive produced by 50 Cent. I say it at the intro of every single episode that we're breaking down. The documentary is very well put together, and it isn't just a hit piece against Diddy, because they do talk about how he became the icon that we knew as Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, whatever you want to call him. It's very well put together. I highly recommend you go back and watch it. We're just touching in on the key pieces, 15 to 20 minutes breaking down this hour documentary. Episode 3 was a little bit longer just because it covered a little bit more than episode 1 and 2 did. Now, before we jump into this and break down episode 4, if you like this kind of content, docu-series, breakdowns, TV shows, recaps, movies, reviews, hey, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, hit that like button. Let's get the channel to 60,000 subscribers. But this is the recap of episode 4, Sean Combs' The Reckoning on Netflix. In 2025, Sean Combs was tried in federal court on charges including RICO, ex-trafficking, and violations of the Mann Act. He was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act and acquitted of the remaining charges. He was sentenced to 50 months in prison with time served. September 11, 2024, 5 days before Sean Combs is arrested, he's on FaceTime and he's losing it. Let's just put it out there. He's confused on what's going on. More lawsuits are dropping. Whoever he's on FaceTime with, he's telling them the lawyers are telling us not to do anything, telling Justin not to use his brain, telling me not to use my brain. Well, the lawyers are smarter than you, Diddy. They don't want you to go out here and do or say something that's going to have a negative impact before you even get to trial. But Diddy, when you got your back against the wall and it's looking like your money can't buy you out of a situation that you're so accustomed to doing, you'll end up like this. In September 2024, Sean Combs had a videographer follow him while in New York City. During this time, Combs was under federal investigation. The filmmakers obtained this footage from Sean Combs after he was arrested. I just like to tell people, a videographer is probably getting paid hourly, however long he's recording, and then editing fees. So this footage wasn't owned by Diddy probably at this time, because he probably hasn't paid the videographer, which is why they owned all of the footage. That's just only my speculation of it. Capricorn Clark, former global brand director for Sean Combs. She was very present in the trial. We heard her testimony, and she's saying that she knows Diddy, meaning she knows how he operates, how he moves on a day-to-day, because she was around. She got picked up by Diddy, and she was there through at least a decade. Diddy was looking for an assistant. Capricorn Clark felt that she could fulfill that. She went out and ended up getting picked up by Diddy in April of 2004. Now, what her job really consisted of was from the time Diddy woke up to the time Diddy went to sleep, she was there, making sure the breakfast was right, making sure people were bringing the clothes, any appointments, any scheduling matters. That was what she did. And they show her moving throughout the city, being filmed with Diddy. She said after she got picked up, she was working 12 hours, putting in all the work, whatever Diddy needed. But one day, Diddy took her to a park. And that's because she had prior relationships, work relationships, with Suge Knight. So Diddy was basically saying, if I find out that you're telling Suge anything, or Suge sent you over here, I'm going to go ahead and unalive you. Now, she never told anybody, and she said that her and Suge had no more communication. She just knew him, and they had some work relationship previously, but she doesn't have anything to do with him. And Diddy threatened her life, but she never told anybody. Now, she starts talking about her past and how she used to deal with addicts. Her mother was addicted to cocaine. So growing up as a kid, going into your teenage years and becoming an adult, if you've been around that all your life, you kind of know how to deal with them. You kind of know when they get in these little pockets and these moods to move a certain way. So she started applying that to Diddy once the drugs in his life started to be implemented. Diddy had other plans for Capricorn Clark since she'd been around for so long. So another TV show that Diddy had, I Want to Work for Diddy, in 2008, he had Capricorn Clark actually write a whole manual of how to work for Diddy, what Diddy is expecting from you, what Diddy likes, how you need to move, where you need to be. She had to write a whole book for Diddy, and you know she didn't get paid any extra for it. She ended up getting a promotion to the global brand director, basically meaning she's the manager over everything that had to do with Diddy. Now, she worked for him from 2004 to 2012, 2 years shy of an actual decade, but she was around Diddy every single day. So if anybody would know what Diddy was doing, it would definitely be Capricorn Clark. And as you can see, she was around with Dirty Money and with Cassie. Fast forward to 2022, BET Awards. Diddy gets his Lifetime Achievement Award. Kanye West is bringing him out, and we hear from Lil Rod. Now, Lil Rod is a producer who also has a lawsuit against Diddy and was with him the prior 13 months that Diddy was recording his last album, the Love album. Lil Rod was around Diddy doing his writers camp in September of 2022, where they were putting together the Love album. He said it started off with 100 people. People slowly started leaving the camp. What stood out for him against everybody else was that he played multiple instruments. So that's one reason why he was around. He was helping produce. He was doing his thing. Lil Rod was around. And he said that Diddy is good at putting a mask on, being the most perfect person in public. One day in the studio, Lil Rod says he has the headphones on, and he sees Diddy, Justin, and this guy named G go into the bathroom. And while he has the headphones on, he hears boom, boom. So he's thinking maybe he just hit a key or something, and it was a gun sound on the equipment he was working on. But he said no, there was actually a gunshot, two of them that went off inside of the bathroom. And when he went in there, he said there was blood all over the floor. But Diddy, they walked out like nothing happened, and they said wait before the ambulance comes. Once the ambulance showed up, they said the shooting didn't take place in the bathroom. It took place down the street. While this is going on, Lil Rod goes in the bathroom and he's putting towels on the wound, applying that pressure. So when the ambulance and everything show up, at least he doesn't lose all of his blood. Diddy and them, they walked out. They told everyone to stay in. Once the police and the ambulance showed up, they said it took place down the street. No one else was able to talk to the police. Now, there's footage inside the bathroom where the actual blood is that Lil Rod was in. He said this was right after I went in there and put the towels on him. Whatever happened, maybe the police were paid off, but the shooting, quote unquote, didn't happen inside of the studio, but it really did. Well, the reporting said that the shooting took place outside of the studio, and that was that. Lil Rod talks about Diddy's the gatekeeper, but he had a family to feed, so he just swept it up under the rug and continued on. They started working on a Justin Bieber track. Justin Bieber was there. They recorded, multiple producers. They tried to put their little touch on it, and nothing came out correctly. Lil Rod got a hold of it. He did his little 1-2 to it. Diddy heard it, and he said Diddy played the song all night on repeat. And that's one reason Lil Rod stayed around, because Diddy said that Lil Rod had the talent. After helping out on the Justin Bieber song, later on, he gets flown down to Diddy's house in Miami, Star Island. And he said this is where the working relationship actually started. They were recording. He has a lot of footage because Diddy wanted everything recorded. They're in the, I don't know what room this is, some rich room, but they in the room, Diddy's recording, and he said it took months for Diddy to record this one verse. But he was down here working. He was living at Diddy's house, getting paid just to live there. Lil Rod provided the filmmakers with footage of his 13 months of working with Diddy. That's a lot of footage that they didn't even show in this. Now, there may be a part 2 where it's just going off of the 13 months that Lil Rod had. But Lil Rod has firsthand experience of what was some of the last things Diddy was doing. Lil Rod said it took about a year after he was working with Diddy to start to realize that Diddy was just grooming him, selling him a dream, telling him he's going to be the producer of the year. You're going to win a Grammy for the Love album. You're going to get a mansion right next to me on Star Island. Basically making them believe that you're going to get so much money off of this album. Bad Boy Records is going to hook you up. You're going to be living the lavish, fly life. The dream that any person that's pursuing their dream thinks that they are worth. Diddy starts leaving them voice messages, calling them Little Ronnie. Man, we need to start rapping about different stuff. And then Lil Rod goes into detail that Diddy used to start showing him videos of man on man action and saying this is the path to success. Now Lil Rod says he didn't understand why Diddy was showing him this, nor why it was relevant for him. But this is his story, and this is what he's saying. Maybe it'll get brought up in trial. He said they would go to the strip clubs also, booby trap over on the water. And he said Diddy would give him a bad boy hat and put him on a recruitment team to go and find ex-workers. Now, Lil Rod was asking, how would they know that I'm really with Bad Boy? He said, trust me, they all know when they see this bad boy hat to come with you back to the place. Because Diddy wanted girls to be in the studio with them so the environment would be correct. Now, they're blurring out this gentleman's face in the pink shirt. I'm assuming that this is French Montana. That looks like French. When they get back to the house, he said there will be women all throughout the house. There'll be drugs. And he said Diddy and Justin, they would go into rooms for 30 minutes, an hour with the women. It would just be them two in there with the women doing who knows what. And then they would just come back out and music would be playing. So it was just a ultimate freak off. Diddy and his sons were in there doing whatever they do. Now everyone is saying, what is Sean doing? Is he doing this to keep up with the kids? Why are you living this type of lifestyle at 50 plus? Roger Bond says you didn't groom these kids to take over Bad Boy. You groomed these kids to do the same thing that you're doing as far as the drugs, the drinking, the women, and whatever other activities that you're doing. You're not showing them the business of how to run Bad Boy. Lil Rod says that while they were there doing all of this, sometimes you wouldn't even know if you were on the drugs. Sometimes the products were just in stuff and you didn't even know. But he said people would also say, man, it seems like Diddy knows everything that's going on in here. Lil Rod said he went into a room and he realized there were 4 screens in there. But throughout the whole house, there were cameras recording every single thing that everybody was doing in the house. Now, that's security purposes. Now, were they in the rooms also, like the bedrooms? I don't know. Were they in the bathrooms? I don't know, because that's illegal. But he said that Diddy was recording everything. They would party so much. Lil Rod said he would wake up in the morning not knowing what happened. Whether he was drunk, he was on drugs, he didn't know. He would wake up. Sometimes there would be women in the bed with him. And he said some mornings he would wake up and Diddy would be in the bed right next to him. Now, you can do whatever you think and have your own speculations about that, but that's some wild, weird stuff there. And that would have never happened. If I woke up one time and Diddy was in the bed with me, believe me, that would have been my last time there, and there would have never been anything else said about this crap. I probably would have punched him. Christina Coram, aka KK, name was brought up a lot during the trial. She was Sean Combs' chief of staff. So that means she was over everything. Lil Rod would go to her and tell her, hey man, some weird stuff going down. But she worked so close with Diddy, which we all think she's the one that was telling on Diddy, that kind of flipped and gave any information on Diddy so she wouldn't go down. She wouldn't do anything to his complaints. Why? Because she worked directly with Diddy. And she had so much power, she was going to do anything she could to protect Diddy. Lil Rod had to ask himself, how long was he going to go through this? We hear him saying day 145, 148, but the Love album is officially finished. And he said that his business, as far as getting paid for what he did on the Love album, for being there for 13 months, kept getting put on the back burner. Now, this isn't a lie from him, because he actually has the voice messages, and you hear Diddy saying, oh, it's going to take some time. We got to work on it. Oh, we got to go move this before we can do this. I'm going to get to you, Playboy. So he has the audio recordings of him not getting paid, and Diddy actually saying, oh, I'm going to pay you then, I'm going to pay you this day, and it never happened. While he's sending voice messages to Lil Rod, oh, I'm going to pay you, we're going to get to it, I don't want any problems with you, he's on Instagram. He's on TV saying the Love album got nominated for the Grammy. We got nominated for a Grammy. But the whole time, Lil Rod ain't getting paid. And that's one reason why Lil Rod opened up his lawsuit against Sean Combs, because regardless to what was going on behind the scenes, if you do a job, you should be paid for it. And again, there are voice messages. So he probably has a good case as far as getting back pay and maybe, some pain and suffering pay. All in all, he missed 2 Christmas, 2 Thanksgivings, his kids' birthdays, and he said that the only thing they offered to him was $29,000. And even to this day, 2025, this happened in 2022, he never even got to $29,000. Then you fast forward to November of 2023. Lil Rod says Diddy still leaving the voice messages, but they stopped as soon as that Cassie lawsuit dropped. Diddy is a sick individual, a shiesty individual, someone you can't put any trust into. Rodney Little Rod Jones' civil lawsuit was the 5th among more than 100 civil cases filed against Sean Combs, alleging sexual assault and related misconduct. Combs' attorney called Jones' allegations bold-faced lies. As of airing, the case remains pending. Aubrey says that the police notified her about a woman that had an affidavit, a sworn affidavit, talking about an encounter that she says she went into a room and seen Aubrey O'Day inebriated, and 2 men were in there assaulting her. Now, Aubrey O'Day even says here she doesn't remember that, so she doesn't know if it happened or not. But she's saying if this woman seen it, she doesn't want to believe that it happened just so she doesn't have that trauma. We don't know if the woman was telling the truth or if the woman was lying. But even in the affidavit, she said she is 100% sure she's seen that it was Aubrey O'Day. So for people saying that she's just on here talking, she didn't say that it happened. There was a lady in the affidavit that said it happened. Fast forward to 2024, Don has dropped her lawsuit against Diddy. So you see him outside on his actual film asking, "Hey Justin, do you know any editors?" Asking the videographer, "Do you know how to edit? Can you go and find all of Don's clips where she's talking highly of me so we can put them together in a compilation showing that Don didn't have any issues with me?" Now, Diddy is also saying no one was interviewing her without talking about me. So go back and find all the clips of her talking highly of me. Because remember, manipulating the media and controlling the narrative is what you want to do. September 16, 2024 happens, and we see Diddy getting arrested in the lobby. Now remember, when he got arrested, there was a lot of drugs up in his room. There was money, cash, $9,000. We seen him walking around the city, and all of this was filmed. I'm pretty sure he had the film guy with them, because when they walked back into the lobby, the feds came and got Diddy. Kalina says on September 11th, after Don dropped her lawsuit, Diddy starts blowing her phone up. Hey, Don's dropping a lawsuit. She said he's losing it. Well, what Diddy is doing is calling her to be able to get a character statement. Oh, Diddy's not a bad person. Go out publicly and make that. But at the time, she was in court battling to try to get custody of her son. So she asked Diddy for $5,000 to help her out. But Diddy said, "Oh, I ain't got it right now. I got to do some other stuff." But was begging for her to put out a statement on his behalf. She loved Diddy because Diddy gave her an opportunity and helped her out. But she was also going through her own situation and she needed $5,000. For Diddy to tell her no when she needed help, but he wanted something from her, that's very messed up. She did eventually go and put out a statement, but Diddy didn't help her get custody of her son. She ends up playing recordings that Diddy left her, talking about, I felt close with you, and that's why I'm asking you to do this for me. I know at my funeral you would jump in the casket. She even said she would do that. She did have love for Diddy. I don't know what was going on to make her release a statement for Diddy if he couldn't even give you $5,000 when we know he was arrested with $9,000 cash. $5,000 wasn't anything to Diddy. the simple fact he didn't help out, that lets you know what type of person he is. He only takes, but never gives. And in her statement, she says, the allegations and incidents described in this suit are not representative of my experiences, and some do not align with my own truth. So this is the ending of the statement she put out on behalf of Diddy. She's better than me. I would have told Diddy I need $100,000 or something. If you need me to put a statement out, I need some help, because you know they weren't getting paid like they were supposed to on them albums. That led up to the incident where Capricorn Clark said that Diddy grabbed a gun, said they going to Kid Cudi's house, they're going to delete him. They broke into the house. Capricorn Clark, she's on the phone with Cassie. She didn't know if Kid Cudi was in the house or not, but Kid Cudi and Cassie were out and about. Diddy comes out of the house. We know he locked the dog up in the bathroom. The dog got PTSD according to court records and Kid Cudi taking the stand. And Diddy says he's not going to let Capricorn Clark go until Cassie shows up. And when Cassie came back to the house, she said Diddy began to just kick and kick and kick her, all because she was messing with Kid Cudi. Capricorn Clark was then fired after the incident. She says that Diddy blackballed her, says she'll never be a director, manager of anything in the music industry moving forward. You have to remember, in 2011, 12, 13, hell, all the way up to 2020, 2022, Diddy has so much power. All he had to do is make one call. And if he says you can't work for somebody, everyone's going to go with it. Juror 75 says, yeah, that's all that they seen that Diddy was guilty of. Transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, he said Cassie kept coming back. If something like that happens, then you could leave. Now, this is amongst the jurors, and I always had to give that disclaimer. I had what I felt that he was going to get charged with, and then I always said, but it doesn't matter what I think. It's up to the jurors. For us watching the trial, it was like watching a basketball game. All it is our opinions. No one was right and no one was wrong because we aren't the jurors. He can only be judged by the 12 that were in that box. Tisha Tales, big YouTube vlogger, shout out to her. She was covering the trial. She was actually allowed to go in there. But what she's saying is she started to witness the Sean Combs team talking to other vloggers, telling them this happened, this happened. So they were getting fed different information to put out there on their social media, which takes us all the way back to the opening scene of what Diddy was doing, talking to the lawyer about we need to get on social media. Diddy ended up being found guilty of the 2 charges. Kirk Burrows is talking about how he was one of the first people to sue Diddy about his practices and how he was managing money. Now, it did ultimately get thrown out. We went over that. It was too late to file, and there was no way to prove who was actually there for the original LLC. But Diddy was so used to using money and paying people off to make his problems disappear, it eventually caught back up with him.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.